for this day that you've given to us, this special Sabbath day. Be with us as we have this meeting, dear Lord. We pray that we may learn things that will increase your kingdom. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. So, this is the official welcome. Welcome, everybody. We're glad you're here. We've got people from all different walks of life in media here. We've got stage hands, we've got photographers, we've got videographers. So if you could just give me your role in this whole media thing that we call life. What's your role in this media thing? Stage manager, all right. I call it stage hand, sorry. Forgive me. He's a stage director. We have another stage director over here. I myself am a stage director. What's your role, stage director? All right. And what's your role, ma'am? Okay, and you are over at Legacy, correct? Awesome. Sir, what's your role in this media thing? Photography. And your role? Husband, what's your role? Video. All right, what's your role?
Mixture of stage management and
Okay.
that's what else
Wonderful. Ma'am?
Audio and statement.
Audio and stage manager.
Amateur photographer.
No. Let's take the amateur off. You have more than one camera. I already heard someone say that. So, photographer. Lovely. He said, okay. And Robert is a photographer. He's not there right now. And we have the director of the photography ministry back there, Ms. Charlene. And, oh, wonderful. What's your role in this thing called media? Stage director. We like that. Awesome. So, for this meeting, we just want to make sure that we got all of our ducks in a row and that people clicked on the link or they did what they needed to do. Did the link work for everyone? Did you click on a link in order to RSVP? It worked? It worked? It worked? All right. We're not sure if it worked or not, okay? You don't remember what your link works? All right. We just want to make sure that we can do this again and do it this way. So, we are just so glad to have you all here with us today. We know that the purpose of us being here is to increase the kingdom. So today we're going to be talking about storytelling and what that actually means. Around the room, you will see little people, and all of them are reading books. How many of us have done that recently, actually read a book? I know I do. I love books. But telling the story is more than just with a book. So we have two presenters today that are going to be sharing with us, telling this story, not with a book, but telling the story through photography and telling the story through video. And then we're going to combine them together, video and photography. How can they mix together? Do they mix together? What are we going to do with that? So as we go along, if you have questions, I'm sure we'll have questions along the way. We do have a table in the back. The table in the back that has the orange on it. The cups are for the photographer because this is a real photography meeting. So we've got gifts for them that we give out every photography meeting. So you may want to join a photography meeting. But what's in front of the cups are giveaways. So I want to know the person that woke up the earliest this morning to be here. The earliest. How early did you wake up?
5:45.
5:45. Anybody else can be 5:45? Uh-oh, what time did you wake up?
4 o'clock, as I usually do every day before I go to work.
4 o'clock, and she usually, anybody can be 4.
I'd be out at 5.
All right. Well, Robert, what time did you wake up? 5. Was it earlier than 4? No, you didn't know, definitely not. All right. So, ma'am, you are the first one to go to our back table. You have a giveaway on the back table. Don't get the cups because the cups are for the photographers. But everything else, you can absolutely grab something back there. Our presenters, are you ready to present, or we're still working on the presenters?
Well, Thackery can go because he's connected.
Wonderful. All right. Thackery's going to present. Thackery, let us know what you're going to talk about. Oh, yes, you are extending right now. Okay, what is it? I do see you, but now you need to disconnect.
off, so we can.
See, there's always something, right? That's why you gotta have a backup plan. My backup plan was the PDF, right? Just in case the video part of the presentation wasn't working. I believe in like having multiple backups. Okay, so let me explain it to you. Your first camera will give you the full length. It'll give you the full picture, right? Of what's on, a wide shot. Also, we can call that an establishing shot. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. Then you have the second camera, which gives you a mid-range right? We look at that as the opportunity to see the emotion of the people. And oh, this video had a really great emotion of the young lady who was singing. It was a very good emotion as you could see, you could feel it as she's singing. And that's the whole purpose of your mid-range, to catch those nuances. And then your third camera, that camera is like, that's extra. So you'd use that to catch side shots. You'd use that to catch the instruments, the musicians. You'd use that for those of us who remember Pastor Bird. Anybody remember Pastor Bird, right? So he'd get up on the rostrum, and I would then begin to camera 3. Okay, he's going to call out everybody and their mother. I need you to go ahead and look above the camera, find the person, and get me that shot. Because if you're sitting at home and the pastor's, Sister so-and-so, oh, we're so happy to see you, and you turn 100, and he's talking to her, instinctivly everybody's going to turn to look at Sister so-and-so. And so you want to give the audience the opportunity to see Sister so-and-so in her 100-year glory, right? Or this person that he's called out, or this hobnob, right? So you have that opportunity with your third camera. That's the purpose. Now, in this example also, this pastor who came to visit was mentioning how he had a relationship with Pastor Lamb. And the camera then went to Pastor Lamb, who was humbly nodding, and then the row of elders next to him broke out in applause to what he was saying. But that's you giving your audience at home the experience of what's happening in the sanctuary. Our camera shots. Every event should begin with a wide shot and end with a wide shot. And when I say event, I mean someone's going up for prayer. You start wide before you go to medium, before you go to a side view. The choir begins to sing. You start wide before you go to panning them, or before you even go to the soloist. You always start wide. And as they're coming to that finale, and they're like, oh, and everybody's moved, you come out, you end with the wide shot, and then you can then pick up the audience who is just applauding, who are standing up, who you can just feel the energy from them. And you're giving your persons at home this experience, right? So you always begin and end with a wide shot. Your audience members, when you pan on somebody, all right, let's all take a look at this lady right here. Let's all stare at you for a moment. About 5 seconds in, you're just like, okay, this is enough, this is good. Are you? Right? You don't want to linger on your audience too long because it makes them feel uncomfortable. And also because there are those who will look up on the screen, and I've seen this. Yeah. And you're just like, really? You know, and I wish, and I think we do have the opportunity to put in a 5 second or some kind of a delay in there, but that's like, I'll tell you, tag you're it. You know, put in that delay so that when they do see themselves, it's like too late, you know. But then there's, we have the opportunity to do that, to show our audience one thing while our people at home are seeing another thing. It's just a matter of us implementing it and putting it into play. But a lot of, like the Joel Osteens and a lot of those guys, they do that so that you're really not able to see yourself up there, and then there's no reaction. and then it looks real, and then the personal. And some people say they don't like to show the audience members because they feel like they're invading their worship experience. But I know that if you know that we work with media, and you know that you're coming into this place and it says that we're using the photography and the videography to give our members an experience, then, you know, it's almost expected that we're gonna pan the audience. We're gonna find that person who I can relate to at home, who's feeling the moment, right? Every moment, every 15 to 20 seconds, you should have movement every 15 to 20 seconds. Studies show that if you're just looking at a video and there's no movement on there, when I say movement, I don't really mean like a head movement or an arm movement. We're talking about like a slow push, or you know, or like let's switching out from mid shot to a wide shot, or head to toe, whatever the case may be, that your brain begins to check out. Now, given that with what you know with, you know, swiping and taking in information rapidly, right? You can imagine how easy it is for our audience to check out if there's no movement. So you want to always have 15 to 20 seconds. You want, especially, and it's hard to remember that if you don't have a pastor that's a walker. If your pastor stands at the podium, you tend to forget to do the switching, as opposed to the one who's walking, and then you can't even like sneeze because you're like, oh my gosh, can he like not do that? And you have to manage keeping up with him, right?
Yeah.
And like, for sure you're awake, and for sure your audience is awake, because this guy is doing all of this, and as Pastor Russell used to do, fly down the stairs and be like, oh my God, this is it, this is when he's gonna fall. And then he'd fly back up the stairs and like, oh my gosh, could you like not do that? You know what I mean? And so like, that you can keep your audience awake. But if it's a person who does this, you want to move between your shots every 15 to 20 seconds, because it keeps the brain awake, right? And it keeps your audience locked in to see what it is that you're getting ready to show when there's movement. Know the lineup. Prepare your camera person for the shot. So I would have my program in front of me, and I would have notes where I need to. I would sometimes, like for example, when we have Black History Month, and we have those people coming to the guests, right? One weekend I was not on time. I'm going to put that out there. And we didn't get to go and meet who the guest was. And the camera was looking at the wrong person. Yeah, okay. Let's let that go. No judging, right? And so that's tantamount to spelling their name incorrectly, right? So you want to find out when there's a choir, who's going to solo? Where are they going to be standing? Not all the soloists come front, right? So you want to find out where they are, because then you have to send your camera people that way, right? You want to find out who the guest person's wife is, because for sure, he brings with him his beautiful wife, and then you're like, where is she? Right? She's trying to shrink, and you need to find her and put her on the spotlight. So you want to be able to find, these are the nuances of finding out, right, all of these nuances, so that when you get up there, you're telling the story, and the person at home is not being left out. Because when you can spot the person singing the solo quickly, or you can look over and you can see who it is based on people touching or moving or shuffling, or all eyes on them, your audience at home won't have that. So you have to be the one to do that for them. And it's important that you know the lineup. It's important that you speak to the floor director, you speak to whoever. Baby blessings. I can't begin to tell you how I'm in the third floor yelling, oh my gosh, turn the baby to the camera. Give us the baby. And it's a cute little Gerber baby. And we can't see the baby because they didn't. And yeah, mom and dad are quite nervous up there, right? But can we have somebody to whisper to them? Or even the pastor ahead of time. I used to tell the pastor, baby goes, okay, could we remind them to show the baby's face, please? And oftentimes, yeah, they would.
Today, what we did was, I don't see Bridget. Bridget and
I'm gonna help you out.
Bridget and Laura spoke to the visiting pastor who conducted the baby blessing. And I noticed that it was a much better
Absolutely.
presentation because they actually explained to him why they were saying what they were saying. And it was a much better presentation.
Or pastors whose backs are to the camera, blocking the baby, so you can neither see the speaker or the feature, right? And so, right? So you have to have that kind of coordination, right? But you have to know your lineup ahead of time. Okay. 5 minutes? Is that what you're saying? Okay. All right. All right, moving along. I'm almost at the end. Prayer time. Faces filled with the Spirit. Your audience, you think their eyes are closed. Not all of them. They're at home watching the screen because some of them, the old school ones, their eyes are closed on the couch. But a lot of them are still looking at the screen because the camera is giving them perspective of what's happening. Your keyboardist, pardon?
When they rebroadcast it, it might not be praying for a second time.
That's true. That's true too. Your keyboardist, you want to be able to have your camera position so you can get all of these, the raising and the singing and the clapping of the hands. You want them to be able to see all of that, to know that they too, right, somebody else is getting caught up in the moment as well. Give your audience respect. Don't insult someone with a shot. For example, you don't want when the pastor gets up there and he's talking about a deadbeat dad, you weren't listening to what was said, and so now you send the camera to a man. That's happened. Right? And you could saw his response and you're just like, right? You have to, like that space where you are doing, there should be no talking, there should be nothing but total absolute focus and listening, no phones, either on camera or up in the thing. You should not, if someone has to do communication, then it shouldn't be the person who's switching. You should be listening so that you can see and you can know what to give your audience. For example, you can tell when a joke is coming. You want to have your audience. Your camera people need to know which pocket of people in the audience are engaged because they're going to laugh. They're going to do this. And so when it comes to the joke and the people are laughing, you can then go to it straight away, and that's given them that interactive experience. Identify the engaged members as a camera person, and so therefore, when the technical director is not in the space where the cameras are, the technical director can say, "All right, give me somebody engaged. Wait for it. Okay, we know she's gonna laugh. Wait there, wait there. The joke comes, she begins, throws her head back. You go to the shot." Right? It's almost like it was a script that was written. And last but not least, which is my pet peeve today, don't overuse the graphics. I cannot begin to tell you that the graphics now are, and I'm going to go ahead and throw it out there because you asked me to speak. The graphics are overused. When I'm at home and I'm sitting and I'm engaging, right, and they have these huge graphics go up, and then you hear movement and you hear people talking and you're still looking at a graphic, that is so irritating and unnerving, right? That's the overuse of the graphic. Because the fact that back in the day, we needed to fill that dead space, but now when we have floor directors who are moving things along, they might want to consider lower thirds because that big graphic, it just interrupts the person at home as they're engaged and they're falling into the moment, right? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is my rendition of telling the story through video. Do I have any questions? Are there any questions?
Well, I do want to make a statement that
Yes.
you kept mentioning, doing this for the people at home, but it's also for the people in the audience where I'm sitting. I'm not seeing Mr. Lamb's, Elder Lamb's facial expressions at the front. I'm not able to see whoever they're talking about. And so, because where I'm sitting or whatever, I often look up to the screen to see what's going on, even though I'm there in the moment. So
Look at that.
it's also storytelling for the people who are present.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. You're up?
Also, I want to say about an individual who's moving a lot, and you're on the camera. One secret is to pan ahead of him, slightly
Yeah.
ahead of him. So by the time he gets to the center of your camera, you're already there, because you're panning ahead
Yeah.
as he's walking or running.
Yeah, yeah.
Don't
You
jerk
always
the
want to
camera,
give them
but do
lead
it
space,
smoothly,
yeah.
do it smoothly.
You
Our
do.
speaker today was very busy, so.
The young
Yeah.
man on the
Very
camera
fast.
did an excellent job.
Yeah.
I was watching him. He did a good job.
And last night, they couldn't find him. So I was
He's
watching
on
it
the
last
floor,
night.
that's why.
They could not find him. They were like, whoa, whoa, wait, whoa. So this walking you were doing just a couple minutes ago,
Yeah.
that was him last night.
And you
And the
never,
camera tried,
you
and they
never want
tried.
to use a live camera as a search, right?
They had to
That
do it.
is like, that is the most amateur, that is like so embarrassing, that is like, oh my gosh, I want to hide under a rock. When you're using your camera to find your subject, right? I recommend you go to
Go
the
wide.
stage and go wide, and then you use your eyes and find them. Slowly move. Don't make it look so like, oh my gosh, we lost a whip.
And that same concept goes when you have a large mass choir, then all of a sudden the solo starts singing. It's the same concept. Don't jerk
Don't
that
whip.
way.
Yeah.
You know, you
Never
want to
whip.
gradually
Yeah.
pan and look for the solo.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All right, you mentioned something, you said lower thirds. Who knows what lower thirds is? We might not know. Who would like to share lower thirds? Anybody? Yes.
So it's a title of text at the bottom of the screen.
Lovely. Since you answered the question, you may go to the table. Grab a gift. Grab a gift. See how I snuck that in real slow? All right. Thackery's going to give our next presentation, and it's going to be on photography, and we can learn from both medias. Yes.
This is another point on
Sure.
the importance of seeing the audience in a service. During COVID, there are people that could not attend, and it was very important. Oh, look, this is
Yeah.
the so-and-so.
Yeah.
Oh, look. So
Yeah.
that emotional connection happens on the screen.
It's true. And even, I guess, for the sake of a time capsule, I've looked back at some of like Bradford's old things and C.D. Brooks's old things, and I'll see people in there that I know. Like, oh my goodness, I went to college with her. Look at her, she's a kid. So it's not just for today. It's not just for the people at home. It's not just for the people in the back of the audience that can't see. It's for like time. It's timeless. Because when I look back at some of those old footage, oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. You see people that you've gone to church with or college with.
No.
All right.
No.
All right.
So, no, what I'm gonna have to do, because
All right. We always have a plan B.
I deleted Google Drive off of that phone, so I'm gonna have to walk around and show this to you. But first off,
The devil is alive.
Yes, he is. But we have a plan B.
so photography, I'll admit I'm about 4 years into it. And I got into it because my degree in school was physics. And one of the things that's really, really passionate to me is the 4 equations for light. And I don't know if many people know that there are equations for light.
No, I didn't.
Yes, there are 4 of them, and basically, when I was walking through my sister's home and I picked up a camera and I took a photo of my nieces and I showed it to my sister, she said, "Thackery, this is something you should take up." And so what I was able to do is I was born again, loving light, and had found a new passion in photography, and found a way for all 3 of those triangles, all 3 of those things to meet at one place. So I am going to talk to you about how I learned to start telling stories through images. And the first thing we have to describe is, what is photography? We've got to start at the basics. Photography is capturing moments through light. That's all it is. That's all your camera does. And so what you're going to end up starting to do is you're going to learn how to use your own voice to put a narrative to what your eye sees. So I want everybody really quickly, if you have a child, just 2 seconds, think about your child. You probably thought of a favorite picture, a favorite scene where they were jumping off of a bed onto you. You probably didn't have a moving video by chance. So we've got to think about what it is about photography that's so important, and lighting is what it is. Photography is all about light. And we all understand what the great controversy is in the world, okay? And it's no irony that as a photographer, your job is to capture the battle between lighting and darkness, the same way that we have in our own spiritual lives to battle light and dark within ourselves. So, as you're taking a photograph, one of the things, and we would be remiss if we don't talk about the fundamentals of photography. And there's a little shape called a triangle. Again, like a marriage, it's no irony that God is at the top and your spouse and you are at the bottom. There are 3 aspects of photography that you have to learn to get your hands around in order to be able to properly tell an image through that lens. Because the camera is very unforgiving. It sees what it sees. If you got a cold sore on your lip, it's going to capture it. So we have things such as some ISO, which is like your eye. Basically, if you look at the sun, you can't look at it too long because the sun is extremely high in ISO. Your eye's sensitivity to that light is extremely, extremely high. The second thing is aperture. That's your pupil. How big does your pupil go out? When you're at nighttime, your pupil opens wide to let a lot of light in. These are different ways that you can control the amount of light in your image. And the third thing is shutter speed. Shutter speed is basically how fast do you blink. So your camera works the opposite of the way the human eye does. Your eye stays open to capture the world around it. So it's constantly, your brain is constantly measuring how much light's coming in, how much shadow there is, what's important, what's not important. So your camera does the opposite. Its eyes are always closed until you hit that shutter button. And what happens is it opens and lets all of that light in, and then shuts down, and the sensor sees what it sees, okay? So lighting, it's what we do. And last night, as I was taking time to put I captured just a beautiful sunset that was on a picnic park. And believe it or not, this is not what the camera saw. This is not what the camera saw. It didn't see a blue sky, it didn't see white clouds, it didn't see shadows and light. The raw image looked horrible. It was washed out. It was peaky in some areas. But the thing is that as you learn to understand that your brain is doing all of this for you, you can go into your camera and change those settings. So as a photographer, please learn the exposure triangle. Please take time. I spent 8 months before I even started shooting just learning about the differences and how each variable affects the other. It is so important because, as it says, that's what we do. We're masters of light in the camera. And without understanding how the camera sees the world, you cannot tell your story through your image as well.
Let me ask a question.
Yes.
Would that be considered Photoshop?
No.
Okay.
No. Because here's the thing, the camera has so much information, some of it is superfluous. Like, for example, the clouds in this image, they went in the raw file, there's so much color, so much detail in there that the clouds lost their detail in the raw image. It is your job to go in there and remove what is unnecessary. And you do that through either settings in the camera or in post-edit to put your final touch on it. So, lighting gives emotion and power to your story. Now, how can we get power and how can we get emotion? Through highlights and shadows. You have to learn to protect your highlights and not to be afraid of darkness. Protect your highlights and not to be afraid of darkness. And again, your ISO, shutter speed, and aperture. Those are 3 things that control how much light and how much dark is in your photo. The colors also, or lack thereof. Everybody here loves a good black and white photograph. And with the right environment, the right settings, A black and white photo can be one of the most beautiful photos you've ever seen. They can convey the coldness of winter, the tragedy of what's going on overseas, the tenderness of a baby's snotty nose, all of which I was able to capture with my own child. Look for isolation in your subject also, in your images. You've got to remember that isolating your subject allows you to remove all of that unnecessary information so that you can have the best play on light and dark. And you're going to see some images now that I took. And I'll just walk around. The first image is telling the story of a man on the phone at Stone Mountain Park about his divorce papers that he just signed. So I chose that photograph in black and white to show the lack of life in it. The second image is my friend's dog. He's a pit bull. Everybody here knows the reputation pit bulls have. They can be the sweetest things in the world, or they can be the most horrible creatures you've ever seen. And this photograph, with him being immersed halfway in light and dark, replicates that dual personality of the pet. The third image is...
Oh, he didn't see you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, my friend. The third image is of magnolia leaves at the change of summer into fall. And we had a particularly cool day that day, and the magnolia blossom leaves were beginning to fall on the ground. The pods were beginning to drop their seeds, and I happened to be out walking and see what I called the little death of one of my favorite trees. And I said, what better way to capture it than to take all color out and show the starkness of this tree is dropping its seeds. Hopefully one day they germinate into a new magnolia. Next one, we're going to do a play on color, and this is from last week's service. Now, if I'm going to walk around and I want everybody to let me know what they think they notice, there's one thing that jumps out in these photographs. Again, I'm looking at playing on light and how it touches the subject.
We just shout it out.
You can shout it out if you want.
The pews are blue.
That's through the stained glass.
Yes.
Well, I see it's like the light is reflecting off the white of the pews.
Close. Anyone else?
Too dark. It's dark.
What's one thing that you notice? And this is part of developing photographer's eye to tell a story. Sure.
That the pew has different colors.
Okay. Who wanted to take a look? One thing that you notice.
Not like where the light shone.
Yes.
You said what? Where the light hits in the sanctuary or whatever.
The gentleman that's in the pew, everybody fore and aft is in darkness. The light landed just on him. The young man, the gentleman that's standing up, listening to the sermon, stood up at a moment of testimony. And the light coming through the red stained glass landed just on his beret, casting the rest of him in shadow.
You have to be a visionary to know to catch that.
I was sitting, I didn't care who heard me, I didn't care how loud my camera was. I had to capture that.
That was awesome.
So now we're going to move to, bouncing off of that, your subject, the who, the where, the why, the what. First rule of thumb, do not be reckless with your subject. Much like you say, when the pastor's speaking less than favorably about someone, that's not the time to actually have a subject. So when you're out photographing, you have to walk a line thinner than the border between these tiles, between shooting randomly and indiscriminately and shooting with purpose. Because you have to do one to gain the skill and proficiency in the camera settings, but you have to also do the other to begin learning how to tell your story. Tell a story through your images, okay? Now, when you photograph, you'll get to a point where it's just as important for you to realize that the perfect photograph can be ruined. Page, my photography page, and it's sold. And they emailed me and they said, there is so much pain and grief and sadness in this one photo. And I said, I only walked by 40 seconds. It took 40 seconds for me to walk from point A to point B, and in that moment, I saw something I would never see again, because coming back from Waffle House, he was gone and so was the can. Very important that you be ready. Be open-minded but not be reckless. Do not assume that a piece of paper on the ground can't make a beautiful image. Walking along Grady Hospital, a bloody bandage on the ground, snap. Contrast, and I was able to keep the image in black and white, but allow the blood stains to still be in scarlet red. And that, in the background, bokeh'd out, is a gentleman sitting on the ground with a leg that looks like it's unbandaged. Come to find out, he took it off, left it there, and went to go sit down because his foot had necrosis. You will always be surprised. Don't assume that just because a ribbon is floating through the air, oh, how many times do we see a leaf falling? Try to capture it. A leaf landing on the lake at just the right moment to create ripples makes the best photo. And the last thing is patience. Wait for your moment to show up. It took me 60 seconds of just aiming in my sights to get Pastor Clark's kids with their heads down. Two beautiful boys. One of them distracted in church, but that's okay, he's a kid. And the other one was asleep. And during a testimony, both of them they kneeled their heads down in a way opposite to each other. I had to get it. But I had to stay crouched, focused, and aimed at them for a minute just to wait for a second that took a second pace. What do you think this moment is saying? If you had to tell a story for this moment.
Can I come in?
Ready to go for a walk? Do you know my master?
The story can be whatever you want, but I'll tell you what it was.
Are you coming or not?
I know, right?
Let's go.
Eat.
I had just I just grilled a beautiful tomahawk steak. $70 I paid for it. This is for his 4th birthday party.
What happened?
A tomahawk steak. I grilled it and I put it on the cutting board, but I left the cutting board within reach. I go inside to grab some seasoning. I come back out. Nothing's gone. I feed my dog raw bones. He ate the steak that we were supposed to share. $70 gone. So I fuss him out. I'm fussing him out. I'm throwing stuff in the house. I'm off. And then I realized, wait a minute. He didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
So I'm walking, and I always, for some reason, I'm always keeping my camera nearby. And I'm walking, and I look out the door, and he's just got this pitiful look on his face like, I'm sorry. Snap.
That's right, that's what I do.
It's what I do, yeah.
I love that.
That's his purpose.
And this one, a very tender moment. I went to a car show recently. There were a lot of exotics there, and there were a lot of children there. And this is a story of a grandfather who was telling his son, because the car club is a Christian organization. This child was walking around looking at Bentleys. We had a few of them there.
One more.
A few more. And he was beginning to, at his young tender age of 12, to be discouraged. I'll never be able to do it. I'll never be able to do it. I'll never be able to own something like this, Daddy. And his grandfather walked over to him, put his hand on his head, and told him, nothing with the Lord's help is beyond you. And I'm here shooting at one car, and I hear that. I spin around, click. I didn't even have time to think. Because just as easily as he walked over, baby, you can have anything in this world you want. Cheer up. I had that much time from 75 feet away on a 300 millimeter lens. Click. Sometimes the story will be told by your images, and sometimes you have to provide the narrative. You have to think on this as you shoot. Do you want to be the one to show the image and then have that beautiful story? Or do you want the story to tell that image? I don't buy commercial photography. I refuse to go into Marshall's and buy artwork. I have my own art store. Everything in my house is something I have shot. So when you come in, there's a story, there's a narrative. So the takeaways for this are, 1, find a creative subject. That'll come in time. Embrace lighting imperfections. Don't be afraid of a puppy coming out of a box in a dark alleyway. Sometimes they make the best shots. Look for color plays of lighting on the subject. If you see light coming across a person's face sitting in a diner and it bisects their face 45 degrees, capture that. Be patient. The shot will come in time. You might have to wait 5 minutes in a position to get a shot that is legendary, but don't be afraid to capture the moment even if it's not perfect. And lastly, remember what it is that we do with our cameras. It is a science where we capture moments. If you talk to, I've had the unfortunate pleasure of talking to someone who has passed away and been brought back. And he says, you don't see video. Your life flashes before you in images. You see images of your spouse. You see images of your child. The brain is wired and designed to keep track of images. And so everybody in this room has a $1,200 cell phone that's 48 megapixels. You have the ability to walk around and create your own narrative, your own story. Get out there and shoot. Document it and share it. And that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Thank you, very nice. I think we learned a lot about photography, a lot about video today. But one thing that I think I'm gonna hold on to is a plan B. You always have to have a plan B. Plan A this week is for everybody to go to work, to go to their job, to wake up. Anybody have a plan B to take off anytime this week? Anybody? You can admit it, we'll stop the video for a second. Nobody?
We got the work.
Yeah?
What?
Do you have a plan B to take off?
Took off work.
Yeah, because plan A is to go to work. Plan B is to call in sick. Anybody gonna call in sick this week? Sorry, I should have said yes. Who said yes? You're calling in sick?
My wife.
Okay, no, all right. I was gonna give a gift for the person that was gonna call. Okay, I'll call in sick. Oh, now everybody's gonna call in sick. Absolutely, go get a gift. You may go get a gift from the back table. There's one for you too. You're calling in sick?
No, I was saying I wish my wife would.
Okay, wife, you can go take a gift. So now we're gonna talk about photography and video together. How can they go together? Let's have a discussion about that. How can we mix what you're doing and what you're doing together? How do they go together?
Can I just ask?
You and me.
Absolutely, you can ask questions, absolutely.
So you mentioned something about power and emotion kind of being the equivalent of shadows and something. I missed the other thing. What was it?
Colors.
Thank you. That's all.
There's an artist called, yeah.
Oh, I had a question. So I'm already doing videography, but I'm looking at buying a new phone, and I want my phone to have a great camera. But I'm thinking about buying a camera. But before I make that big investment, what do you think I should do before, I have a smaller visual camera, but what do you think I should do before I make that big investment?
How serious are you about photography?
I love it.
You love it?
Yes.
Is this something you want to do the rest of your life?
Yeah.
Then invest in a real camera.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be expensive. It can be a starter Canon. Anything DSLR or mirrorless is better than anything on a cell phone. And unless you have the wallet for it, don't buy new.
Okay.
Okay?
There's a man, Robert, help me if I'm wrong. And his name was Ken Burns.
Yes.
And I want to say that he was the first to marry these two, the video, and when you see still pictures and you see that slight movement where they like come in tight on the picture, or they go wide, or they move from left to right or whatever. He implemented that. He dreamed it up. He invented that, I guess, right? He made that a thing, right? He trended that, whatever. But you can use photography with videography to tell whatever story that there is to tell. It doesn't have to be this or that. It can be the two of them. Like right now, there is Canva is the biggest craze on what the platform for creating your graphics, right? And when I first started using Canva in their infancy, they didn't have anything for video. And then all of a sudden, they started to have a database where you can get free use video. And now you can actually create your video on Canva. You can do so much on Canva, right? And you have a platform where you can have still, you can have words, you can have video, you can marry them together, and with that you can tell awesome stories. You can tell a story so well. You can move someone to tears and just use movement with your photography and your and music, the right music. And the music, as I tell my students, you use your music to manipulate your audience. If you want them to feel sad, go ahead, pull a nice tear-jerking music to go along with your photo montage, right? If you want, if you want them to feel happy, then go ahead and give them a happy upbeat, right? But you can do that with beautiful, beautiful photos. Put a little movement together, as Ken Burns has done, right? Couple that with some music. Just the right music. And there's lots of free, no need to steal some, right? Because there's free use out there. Find it. Canva has it, SoundCloud has it, Ben, there's another one, Ben has it. WeVideo, they have it. YouTube Audio Library. I mean, there's a source, you can find infinite of free use music, and you put the right music with it, and there's your story. Your story is well told. And just because you must know this, never end your video with the music suddenly erupting. Oh God. If you're my student, you know that you failed. If I listen to it and it's they're like, oh God, I forgot. Yeah, because now it's not an A. It's like, look, my blood pressure went up just thinking about it.
And to remember, they go hand in hand. They're two sides of the same coin. Photography is the punctuation to the sentence that video speaks. When you think of 9/11, just think of 9/11 right now. What's the image you have in your head?
See the dust.
Okay, he sees the dust left over after they fell.
Well, I wasn't born when 9/11 happened, but I did see a picture. It was like the towers and smoke coming in.
Flag. Flag. The U.S. flag.
U.S. flag.
The fireman.
Well, you can think of it like this. The image, the quintessential image of that day is any image of the moment the planes go into the buildings.
Yeah.
And they usually either are the central focus or are the bookend to the video of that scene. And it's very, very important to realize that one, really, they depend on each other to a degree that you can't have one without the other eventually. No story can be told solely by images, and no story truly can be appreciated without still apexes. Because images are the apex in the flow of video. The moment that the person is singing and has tears coming down their eyes, that's the apex. But the video shows the entire workup. You need both of them. So if you use video to punctuate if you use images to punctuate your video, it's just a way to take it to the next level.
Yeah. Excellent. Any other questions? Or any?
I do have a question.
Yeah.
I've heard comments concerning our photography team.
Oh, they're wonderful. Sorry.
They are known, not just around this area, but I have individuals that ask me, how did they get that shot? Who took that shot? Of course, I don't know who's taking shots. I just know it's a good shot. Colleen does the yearbook for her school. And also, I have a friend that did a book, a commemorative book for Alumni Weekend last year. And why don't we do something similar using, well, this is my idea. For our 120th, why don't we have a commemorative book with pictures of the event or leading up to the event or times past, where we charge $120 for that commemorative book. Of course, we have to have pre-sales. And we just have this book for as a commemorative item for our 120th. That's just an idea. Because we have such a great photography team, and
Amen.
I mean, how long are these pictures gonna hang around? But if it's in book form, I have it as my sofa, my
Yeah,
coffee table book, and I'm just putting that out there. But I'm just saying that to say that because our team is known, and I believe you all are known